Well, our story this morning is about Aloysius T. Barnstable. Aloysius T. Barnstable always wanted to have a clubhouse of his very own. His parents were not equally as enthusiastic about the idea, and he nagged them for it. And finally, one summer, they said, "Okay, you can have a clubhouse, but you have to build it in the backyard." He was delighted. What could possibly go wrong? But truth to be told, Aloysius had never really built anything, and he didn't know what to do. So he looked out in the backyard, and there was a very nice sunny space there, and he thought that would do quite well. But what to use? And then he saw that his parents had just gotten a delivery from Chewy, and they had packed all the dog food in a very large cardboard box. So he asked if he could use the cardboard box for his clubhouse, and they said, well, sure. So he helped unpack the cardboard box and took it to the backyard, and then he went and got a pair of scissors and he cut off one of the panels and taped the other two shut and went inside, and it was just the perfect size for him. He could lie there and he could watch the dogs playing in the yard until it started to rain. And then he saw that the box was getting a little soggy and it was starting to come down. So he scrambled out of it, went back in the house and looked, and, well, the cardboard box had kind of collapsed, and he was kind of depressed. But fortunately, a couple of days after that, there was another delivery and another cardboard box, and this one was a little bit bigger. And he thought, well, I can do this again, but how do I keep it from getting all smushed in the rain? And then he noticed that his parents had a set of shower curtains that they didn't need anymore that they had in the garage. So he went and asked if he could use that, and they said, sure. So he got some tape, and he got the cardboard box out there, and he cut off the one panel again and taped everything shut. And then he took the shower curtains and he wrapped the whole thing. Oh, no, he had to have an entrance so he could still get in, and he taped it shut, and he got in, and it was just the right size. It was just great. He was looking out. It was wonderful, and it started to rain, and the box did not collapse. He was so thrilled about that. So he just felt wonderful, and he had a whole summer enjoying his clubhouse. And when the summer was over, he took the clubhouse and he put it in the garage so that it would be okay over the winter. But next summer, the clubhouse that had been sitting there in the garage looked pretty pathetic. It had been sitting there all that time, and it didn't look very good. Plus, he had grown bigger, so he no longer fit inside. And he thought this might be a problem. But then they got another delivery, and he thought, this time I'm going to put in windows. And this is big enough that I can ask my friend to come and join us. And so he started putting it all together. He was in a very good space because, you see, he had learned 3 things. 1, nothing is perfect. 2, nothing worthwhile is ever finished. And 3, nothing lasts forever. We will now have our RE moment. When I first walked into a Unitarian Universalist church, I was early. It was daylight savings, and I hadn't realized the clock had changed. So I walked into an empty church. In those days, we didn't lock the church door. I was amazed at what I saw. An empty church, but it was filled with posters. And posters were things about humanism, Islam, Judaism. I was used to a church that had an exclusive truth claim. So this was revolutionary to me. I was astounded. And then I got super lucky because the minister was astounding. Every time he preached, it was a new idea or a new way of looking at things. And I got high. I got so high, I didn't come down till about Wednesday or Thursday. And by Friday, I was getting excited because I could go to church on Sunday. Trust me, it was never like that in the other place. Now, unfortunately, this has not been my experience every time, and I hope you don't expect it of me. But, you know, we do tend to have really interesting services from both professional and lay-led folks. And today, we're going to have an experiment. It's going to be an interactive service. I get to do most of the talking. But you guys have really good ideas. And I want to hear what you have to say, too. And this will either really work out or we will have a very short service. I have no idea what you're going to come up with. This is called trust. Theological trust. The idea that your ideas and your experiences are at least as valid as mine. That's revolutionary. And it still amazes me. Now, I am going to ask you to stay on topic and not go on at great length, but do explain your idea. I'm the one who will go on at great length, I'm sure. And I reserve the right to retrieve the microphone if you're going somewhere I don't want you to go, or if you're going on too long. Pithy. Aim for pithiness. But I do want to hear what you have to say. And I'm concerned that we not leave out the folks on Zoom, so we're going to take some extra precautions with that. And we will have the discussion afterwards in the conference room, because sometimes you need a little time to think about it before you can come up with what you want to say, or maybe there wasn't time here and you're comfortable in a smaller group, so grab your coffee and come and join us. Having said all that, I invite you now to a time of centering, a time to catch your breath. It has previously been called a meditation time, but let's be honest. Meditation takes time, and we don't want to sit here for 20 minutes with that. So instead, we'll take a moment to center ourselves. I invite you to get comfortable I invite you to relax your body and your spirits. Soften your eyes, if you will. Close them, whatever is comfortable for you. And I invite you to be here, in this place, in this very moment. Well, an interactive service. I can hardly wait to see how this works out. I asked Dr. Louise to put in the order of service, not the order of service, in the promo that she sends out, a question about freedom. What does freedom mean to you? I'm not interested in what the dictionary has to say. I want to know what it means to you. And I did give an example. When I was a teenager, freedom was a red convertible with the top down, balmy summer day, open road, no cars, and a full tank of gas. I've changed my mind. But still, it's the idea. And now I'm going to ask you, do you have any ideas, any experiences that grab freedom? What is freedom to you?
When I was a young girl, I loved to romp out in nature, free, running, hopping over the stones in the like creek river that was near our home in Beardsley Park in Connecticut. And just that, being out in nature, being out in the sun, free to be.
When I was young and I was about 21, I got married, and that felt like freedom, moving from my parents' house to moving in with my husband. We got to kind of do and say whatever we wanted. But my concept of freedom really shifted after I left my husband, after 28 years. And all of a sudden, I mean, freedom all of a sudden means autonomy. It means independence. I'm finding all the synonyms for freedom because I get to do what I want. And I never really realized how much freedom I had compromised in my marriage. So freedom's taken on a whole new definition for me for the last 3 years.
Well, this is kind of paradoxical for me. I love rules, but I think freedom has to do with being willing to break rules sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to me is letting go of all my trigger points. to realizing that it doesn't really matter. My husband will never comprehend the recycle bin from the garbage bin. This could be a really strong trigger point for me, but I've taken a good look at it. And I realized that in our little staging area for what's going to go in recycling, I can sort through that every day and find a reason to find pleasure in that, as opposed to, oh, not this again. Doesn't he realize styrofoam doesn't go in the recycling? Ah, a trigger point. Let it go. So freedom for me is letting go of trigger points.
I was afraid of this. But we'll get back so that I'm not repeating what you say. Go ahead.
I feel I've experienced freedom in a variety of ways. There was the blissful freedom of holiday breaks and summers in childhood. There was the occasional long holiday weekend in working years. Then there's been the somewhat perplexing situation of retirement. Lots of time and options. This seemingly excessive freedom has led me to self-impose more structure. One volunteer gig on Mondays, another on Tuesdays, etc.
I'm struck by freedom in a very real-time sense today. Pedaling a bicycle. I am outside. I feel breeze on my face. I hear sounds in the slower pace of a bicycle versus a motor vehicle. I see and sense and feel so much more, and I'm so grateful to be able to return to bicycling as my ankle recovery continues.
And let me just check in briefly with the Zoom people. Does anybody there want to say something?
Okay. I thought a lot about this, and for me, freedom doesn't exist without responsibility. Sorry, I don't want to be preachy about this, but I really did spend a lot of time thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, I realized the only time I'm happy is when I feel that other people are cared for and other people are taken care of. And so I guess for me, it's a matter of being part of a system that I can contribute to and benefit from, that it's all about the public good. Yeah.
Freedom to me is time, having free time that you don't have to go to meetings or get on the phone. Like if you had a whole afternoon and a whole evening, even if you have to work on a project, it's just very freeing in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times in my life when there was not enough money, where it was a real challenge to buy groceries. But I love to shop. I do. Grocery stores are my shrines. So freedom to me is a red car, a full tank of gas, and a bunch of grocery lists. And now that I'm retired, the time to wander and pick things up and make decisions. Stupid, I know.
As I've gotten older, I have felt more free until recently, when I see other people's freedoms eroding, and it's very difficult for me to feel free, because every morning I wake up and then I go, oh yeah, that's my reality now. And I think the people in this room should or could help with, and we do, we help one another become more free, but we can't make it a self-centered thing anymore. I was self-centered about it, thinking I'm older, I have more financial freedom, but none of it seems to matter anymore when I look to my right, look to my left, and I see people losing their freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just the freedom to travel all over the place, meet new people, see new things, be able to go and enjoy the world.
Yeah. We have some folks over here. And yes, you guys are stepping on my lines all over the place. I love it. I love it.
I've not given much thought about freedom until I heard the announcements this morning that of participation in protest or government support or dissupport of a government, however you want to phrase it. And what I've been thinking of since that announcement is my joy of participating in this congregation. I was raised as a very active, devout Catholic farm family, and up until maybe 30 years ago, I was a reader and Eucharistic minister, but got scolded when I changed the words reading the epistle one day because I could not say, "Women, be submissive to your husbands." And so I appreciate the coaching and the support of this congregation and this form of practice of encouraging people to live their conscience.
I had two thoughts when the topic of freedom came up. And the very first one was the words written by Chris Christopherson and sung by Janis Joplin and me and Bobby McGee, and that is, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And that's kind of been resonating in my mind off and on over the years, and it's something that it's haunting because of what it says. And the other is the thought of trying to understand freedom by what its opposite is. Because you think of freedom as maybe the opposite of that as being confinement or restriction. But maybe the opposite of freedom is interdependence, as Byrd pointed out, and a couple of other folks have pointed out as well, is that if you're totally free, then you're also totally disconnected. And if you want to be interconnected with people, you have to cede some of that freedom to be able to be connected, and that's what's one of the things that we want.
I think when you started talking about freedom, it's like, that is so abstract. I can't think about it. And then Joe Gress stood up, and it reminded me that we have done something in common. We have hiked the Camino de Santiago. And for some reason, that's freedom. And I don't know why. I don't know why the word is intimidating, and I don't know why that hike feels like freedom, but it does.
No, behind you. He's had his hand up for a long time.
To me, at least professionally, since my job title is regional transit planner, freedom is the ability to travel and get where you need to go at low to no cost, regardless of your ability to drive or not.
Ooh. Amen. Yeah.
To me, freedom means to live without fear, to not have to live in fear.
Okay, that's a perfect segue. No, I can use this one. Franklin Roosevelt talked about the 4 freedoms. And they are the freedom of speech, which includes freedom of assembly, things like that. the freedom to worship God the way you wish to, and I take that as or not. And also, in that particular freedom, I think we have the freedom to have our own understandings of how the universe works and how we can best relate to each other on a political level. That we should have the freedom to explore different ideas politically as well as theologically. So those are the two freedoms, too. But there's also the freedom from. The freedom from want, so that everyone has access to food, shelter, and medical care. And the freedom from fear. We should not be living in a state of fear from our government, from our family, from each other. And as you pointed out, sometimes the same act can have both types of freedom. In a divorce, you have the freedom from a situation which is not happy, and a freedom to build a new life. Freedom is expansive. And the other point that I wanted to make, no, I'm going to say something else. Freedom of speech. That's a scary one. We all know that because there are some speeches out there that are kind of unhappy. But freedom of speech does not give us the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. We've all heard that one. So I can stand up here and I can say, that political person is just horrible and rotten, and we should vote him out. I can say that. What I cannot say is, that political person is rotten and terrible, and he should be spifflicated. Now, for those of you who have not been around last time when I explained spifflication, when I was a kid, my mother used to threaten me when I was doing something wrong. If you do that, you will be spifflicated. And I would be really scared. And as I got older, I said, but what is spifflication? Oh, it's so terrible. You'd rather not know. When my mother died, my brothers and I got together and we talked about what it was like to be the child of this particular individual. She had been born early enough that she remembered World War I. As she grew up, she became a flapper. And she had a good time. The new freedom for women. And then in the 1930s, they had something where you couldn't drink anymore. It was against the law. And Mother thought that was a great idea. She did not approve of alcohol. And years after it became legal to drink, my mother started temperance leagues everywhere we moved. It was somewhat disconcerting. About 6 months after she died, I saw that PBS was running a documentary on flappers. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I'll have to watch that. You know, flappers, they were so revolutionary. The women raised their skirts and they bobbed their hair. And the really adventuresome ones went to speakeasies. And when they were at speakeasies, they would drink. And sometimes they would get 3 sheets to the wind or spifflicated. My mother was threatening us with getting drunk. So it is not legitimate to threaten a public official with anything other than your vote. Although some of them probably might enjoy spifflication. Earlier, some of you talked about freedom with responsibility. And I really question, can there be freedom, personal or political, without accountability or responsibility? I don't know. I suspect not. I used to think that freedom meant unlimited choices, that it was just no barriers at all. I no longer think that. I think of that as chaos. Because sometimes limits come in handy. And I'm sure most of you have experienced questions of boundaries and how important it is to set and respect boundaries. I'm going to kind of jump forward because it's getting late and I don't want to keep you. Earlier, I did a story for all ages, and Aloysius T. Barnstable built a clubhouse, and it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And I do want to talk for a moment about perfection, because one of the issues that I see going on nowadays is a bow to perfectionism in our political state. Both sides want the politicians to be perfect. They want them to vote all the perfect way. And that's never going to happen. And if we don't learn to listen to each other, we will continue to be a splintered country. Perfectionism, to me, is giving in to fear. I do not have positive connotations with perfectionism. I am going to ask you at this point to put this slide up. It's on the front of your order of service. There is a beautiful Japanese art called kintsugi. And they take broken things, often pottery, and they put them back together using gold. And the idea is that something that is broken and then mended has a beauty all its own. And it may even be stronger. Relationships that have been broken and then mended can often be much healthier and stronger than they were to begin with. In Japan, they find beauty in imperfection. If you look at their bonsai trees, they aren't the straight, tall tree. The more beautiful ones are the ones that curl around and do strange things. There is a beauty in imperfection. Thank you. The Navajo have a similar idea. They say nothing on earth is perfect. And in their weavings, with their blankets and their rugs that they weave, they purposely include imperfections. In fact, sometimes they have a single string that goes out of the pattern altogether, giving you an escape route. Remember, some time ago, I mentioned that in the story of Adam and Eve, in some cultures, Eve is not seen as a somebody who tempts you. Rather, she is seen as a liberator who got us out of paradise so that we could grow and change and thrive. A whole new idea that perfection is cold and static. Aiming for getting better, that's great. Aiming for improvement, that's wonderful. But perfection is cold. And I remind you of what Aloysius said. Nothing is perfect. Nothing worthwhile is ever finished. And nothing lasts forever. So be it. I'm sorry, I have to say this. The music was not perfect. It was wonderful. The purpose of a congregation such as this is multifaceted. We are here as a community, as a resource, as a place to find friends and to be a friend. Hopefully, it's a place of safety, a place to be affirmed, and a place to be challenged. As for me, I like to be introduced to new ideas. I get that from a lot of the services here, and I hope you do too. Some of the lay-led services, especially that we've had lately, aces. Discussions such as we have had here today are part of our process. The wisdom that we share with each other from our own experiences adds to the richness and depth of our personal theologies. And regardless of what was said here by me or anyone else, you each have your own ideas and life experiences that give you your understandings of what life is about. I hope that you've heard some good stuff today. I invite you to ponder further and perhaps continue the discussion, maybe in the talk back, maybe with your loved ones, or even just within yourself. So be it, and will you join me in hymn number 291? And I can't say that